Now, us Gen Xers, we've faced our share of problems through the years. But one problem that Gen X doesn't have, and that's a lack of grit. We have used grit our entire lives. We've used it to stay in jobs that we didn't love just because the bills needed to get paid. We've used it to survive layoffs and recessions. We used it to raise our kids. We're using it to take care of our parents. We're using it to keep going when nobody is coming to rescue us. So, no, Gen X does not lack grit, because grit is bigger than discipline. Discipline is what helps you say no to that thing right in front of you, whether it's the donut or the impulse purchase, sleeping in instead of working out. Discipline handles today, but grit, that's a totally different animal. Grit is what keeps you moving toward a goal long after the excitement is gone. When the progress feels achingly slow, when nobody notices, when nobody is cheering you on. When you've been doing the right thing for years and still feel like you're not getting anywhere. That's grit. And if there's one generation that understands long stretches of unglamorous effort, well, it's Gen X. The problem is that most of us, we've been spending all of that grit on just surviving. And now we need to spend some of that on our freedom. Because retirement planning, it's not always about being smarter. It's about staying committed long after the novelty wears off. So today I want to talk about how to aim that grit toward retirement. Okay, my first point is that grit means being willing to be misunderstood. One of the biggest lies that modern life tells us is that successful people are supposed to look successful. The right car, the right house, the right vacation, the right everything. And if we're not careful, we spend years of our lives maintaining an image instead of building freedom. And the strange thing is that most people, they're not impressed for very long anyway. They might notice your new car for about 3 days. Then they go back to thinking about their own life. But you'll still be making that car payment long after that. Because it takes grit to let people misunderstand you. To drive that older car. To say, no, we're not doing that this year. And it takes grit to stop performing success long enough to build the actual freedom you really want. And Gen X, we've got enough grit to do that. My second point is that grit means saying no when you're exhausted. I think this is where a lot of retirement advice misses the mark. Because a lot of people aren't spending because they're reckless. We spend because we're tired, overwhelmed, we're taking care of others, and work has got us all stressed. And after another long week, that little voice shows up. And it says, I deserve this. And you know what? Sometimes you really do. But not every relief has to cost money. Because here's the trap. The thing you're buying often isn't the item. It's the feeling that comes from buying that item. The feeling of relief or comfort, reward, escape even. And retirement grit means answering that voice differently. Instead of, I deserve this, try answering yourself, but I deserve freedom more. I deserve more options than I have available to me at this moment. I deserve the ability to retire one day. And don't think of it as deprivation. It's just delayed gratification. It's delayed relief in exchange for a much bigger reward for those options that you really, really want. In this current stage of my life, I am incredibly busy. I take care of my mom full-time. I work outside the home full-time. I take care of the house, the pets, this YouTube channel. And that's why I've had to build systems and routines, ones that help me in my moments of weakness and exhaustion. One small example is that I just listed out all of my mom's favorite dinners. They're not that many, but I printed them out, put it on the refrigerator, and that's one less thing that I have to think about every night of the week when I come home. I just glance at that list, pick one, and go. I also stock some easy freezer meals for myself on the busiest of days, and they might not be the healthiest meal that I could possibly eat, but it's okay. I have my daily routine embedded in my memory, so I can just do it with my eyes closed. And what I'm trying to say is that grit, it will see you through the long haul. My third point is that grit means refusing to disappear. We've spent decades taking care of things. The kids, the parents, the jobs, and somewhere along the way, a lot of us, we got the message that putting ourselves last was somehow noble. But there is a big difference between helping and disappearing. There is a difference between generosity and self-erasure. There is a difference between being strong and letting everyone else use your strength until there's nothing left. Because your future counts too. Not just your employer's future, not just your children's future, not just your parents' future, yours. And for some Gen Xers, that may be the hardest sentence in this video. And one of the grittiest things that you can do for yourself is stop apologizing for protecting your own future. And that means whether it's physically, emotionally, or financially. Okay, point 4 is grit means staying with the boring plan. You know, anybody can get excited. Anybody can make a New Year's resolution. Anybody can start. But it's grit that shows up 6 months later when nothing exciting is happening. When the retirement account still doesn't look like it's enough. When progress feels slow. When the market is down. When you're wondering if any of this is making a difference. That is when grit takes over. Because retirement, it's built on repetition. Saving every month. Investing every time. Being patient over and over again. Compromising. Sacrificing. Again and again. And there's not much glamour, you know, in increasing your 401k contributions by 1%. There's not much glamour in buying another index fund. There's not much glamour in doing the same thing month after month. But the rewards that come from doing that again and again are life-changing. And one day you wake up and you realize that all of those boring decisions became something very meaningful. Okay, my 5th point is grit means starting with just an average day. You know, a lot of us, we're waiting. We're waiting for work to calm down or caregiving to settle down. We're waiting for the bills to get easier or until we're less tired. Waiting until life finally gives us a clear runway. But life may never hand us a clear runway. It may hand us a Tuesday, just a regular Tuesday. Not perfect, not magical, and that's enough. Just go into your 401k or your savings app right now, after you watch the rest of this video, and increase that contribution by 1%. It's a boring, average day move that changes the rest of your life. Grit will take a windfall and open a Roth IRA, because that's exactly how I opened my first Roth. You know, most people, they don't change their lives in one dramatic moment. They change them one day at a time. Now, Gen X has spent decades proving just how tough we really are. And we know just from reading and watching the news that that toughness is going to still need to be called upon. But one bright spot is that retirement and saving for that retirement doesn't require some special talent that we don't already have. It requires grit. And we've been practicing it our entire lives. And the problem is that we haven't lacked grit. It's just that we've spent most of it on our survival. And now it's time to redirect some of it toward our freedom. So stop waiting for the perfect time. Stop waiting for life to calm down. Start with one average day, one small decision, one small action, one small step toward freedom. Because Gen X has already proven that we can do hard things. Now let's use that same grit to build a future that we're excited to get to. And I know that each of us can probably think of something right off that we've just gritted our way through. Something difficult, something that changed us, something where we came out stronger on the other side. Let me know your story of grit in the comment section, because your story could very well help someone else today that needs to read that. Maybe, like me, you're living it right now. Your grit is being tested every single day. Okay, everyone, I hope you have a great week ahead. Stay Gen X strong, Gen X gritty, and I'll see you in the next video.